The Flyin Lion says,
boys, hell is real.
2023 Supporter Shield champs.
Just give me a reason to drink some Guinness in the morning.
Yeah, just a fan of the sport, you know.
I appreciate the opportunity.
It's definitely tougher to be an academy player than it is a pro.
Soccer's my favorite sport now.
The jersey swap was
my car of the week, trivia question of the week.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Flyin Lion Podcast. We are full go for the 2025 season. FC Cincinnati reported this past week, and we had a boatload of new stuff to kind of go over tonight. Sam, how are we doing?
Yeah, doing good. Obviously, once again, we're going over the agenda here, and we actually do have a decent amount of stuff to cover. Obviously, it's probably not as much as FC Cincinnati fans would hope as far as, signings and everything like that. But a lot of rumors, press conferences, lots of, we got a new person coming into the squad. So excited about that. Excited to kind of see things being carried out this next week. Hopefully we get a lot of finalizations.
Yeah, we're doing this episode, recording it on a Sunday night, but I would love to see more signings, early this week, and that's okay. That means that, good stuff's coming in, hopefully. Pat kind of alluded to that in his, press conference after practice the other day. I'm really hoping that we can get some of that finalized, and we'll chat on that. As Sam mentioned, though, we did have a new signing. Welcome to FC Cincinnati, Brian Anunga. So from Nashville, he's coming in as a center mid and center defense, more depth piece than anything, but he's going to occupy that supplemental roster spot. Last year, played 33 matches actually for Nashville, which was his career high for them. 18 starts as well, so he could fill in nicely when Wobodo, goes out with a couple yellow cards. What do you say, Sam?
Yeah. Obviously, like you said, we're seeing this as a depth piece. We were talking about it all of last year. Without Angulo, Pinto kind of drops off of his playing time, and you're kind of looking for more of that guy to rotate into the midfield. Like you said, in Wobodo, if he gets a red card or suspension or injury, like at the beginning of the season, he was dealing with some injury, right? And even Buka at the end of the season there, you could see he was kind of getting worn on a lot, and so Anunga coming in, veteran presence in the MLS. He played 5 seasons with Nashville. So, Ryan touched on his career high in matches played. He also had a career high number in tackles and interceptions. So he's coming off of a pretty darn good season for Nashville. And, it seemed like him leaving Nashville, a lot of Nashville fans were wishing they would have kept him type player. So that's always kind of a good feeling when you sign a new guy and those fans from Nashville are kind of like, oh man, you guys got a good one. Enjoy him.
I think he was a fan favorite, on the field, he had some so-so moments, but I don't know if that necessarily reflected him, but more, the team in general and how they work. Their defense was pretty good, though, honestly, over the past few seasons. So him in the midfield there, he played well. But to kind of touch on the relations with everyone, he comes in this potentially, when he does play, being the first Cameroonian FC Cincinnati player in MLS. So that'll be kind of a unique thing.
Yeah, for us. Yeah.
For FC Cincinnati, but a good connection with some of the other African players that we've now developed on this team. I'm kind of fully going into the we're going African in terms of the way that the roster is built instead of our South American route, so Denke, you have Teenage Hadebe, you have Obi, you had Cheeto. So I think they're looking at those guys and the style of play, the longevity for those guys throughout the season. He played 33 matches. I'm looking at him to kind of relate well with the guys. He already seems like he's starting to get along well with some of the younger guys too. I know he had a photo with Mbamba Dem, one of the young guys too, in training. So it'll be cool to see him kind of relate with everyone. The important stat for him though, Sam, everyone wants to know his FC 25 rating. He was a 63 overall. Wasn't great. Wasn't terrible, but I think he'll be a nice depth piece. And again, like we mentioned, supplemental roster spot. So he doesn't really eat any of the cap space, which for a player that could potentially play a good part in depth, that's a huge signing for us.
Yeah, and obviously I think other big news, immediately people are looking at the press release and, some of what Carter posted, and they see, oh my gosh, he took the number 27. And immediately you're going, well, doesn't look too good for Assad there. Coming back to FC Cincinnati this season. We'll touch a little bit more on that later on the podcast. But another thing that we'll touch a little bit more on, Pat actually, during his press conferences this week, I thought it was nice to hear him talking about Anunga right out of the gate, right? Saying, hey, he's looking like one of our top performers here during camp. Both sides of the ball, intensity is looking good. So he's really impressed with that, which speaks volumes coming right into a new team.
Yeah, top performer out of the 5 people that showed up to training this past week. No, I'm just kidding. It kind of feels like that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, so Kubo wasn't there either. Oh, and Luca wasn't there. Oh, and Lucho wasn't. Like, who was?
We'll
there?
touch on it. We'll touch on it. Yeah.
Who was there? But yeah, no, I think he's going to have high praise, and I think he'll, like we had mentioned, just be a solid midfield depth piece and help us with all the competitions that we have too. So past that, we did get news that Nick Hagelin resigns. Shocker, signed through the 2027 season. We love Nick. I love even more, Sam, that he's going to be roster spot, a senior roster spot, I should say, for 2025. But 26, 27, it's rumored that he will be on a supplemental roster spot, so it doesn't eat that cap space, and will continue to be a club ambassador. So the club gets some financial benefit from that as well. It was a no-brainer, when they had talks about, okay, Nick and Assad are going to talk with the team to come back. It's like, okay, well, we know Nick's there.
Yeah.
And at the time you thought, Assad as well. But yeah, I'm happy that we actually have some hopefully depth in center back with experience. Since Cheeto, since Murphy, are now gone, we need a healthy Nick Hagelin. And over the past few years, he's had some unlucky injuries, I would call it. I think in this past week, he's been training off to the side, but he's been running full go. He's just maybe not all the way to contact yet. But thank God, we still do have some time before the season starts. I think he'll get up to speed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think signing a guy like Hagelin, he's a locker room guy first and foremost, right? But secondly, like you said, he's going to bring that MLS experience. He's a coveted vet in the MLS that you definitely want on your roster. So for the city, right? For our city, I think that just helps to have him back in our locker room, with everything looming around this roster to be able to solidify a guy like Nick Hagelin, I think brings, joy back to this offseason in a little bit. I know the question around a lot of the Twitter sphere, Ryan, was the fact that it's, a 3-year deal, right? What are we thinking about that?
I do like it in the sense that you don't have to like solely rely maybe on the guy. Like he's not your starter type anymore. And, okay, he played 10 matches last year, but he got hurt. Is the injuries that he's getting related to age? Probably not. It's more unlucky than anything, but Nick brings experience and, like you said, a locker room presence. So whether or not he's there and contributing, well, okay, in the next couple of years, he's not going to be eating that roster space.
Yeah. I did appreciate
that for me is huge.
Yeah, I did appreciate that, like how you worded it here, like he almost like during the negotiations, like he's understanding like, hey, as I get older, I probably will not be as vital and I want to help the club out like as much as possible. So, how can we structure the deal to where I want to stay here, I want to stay in my home, right? But still also allow the club to like, bring in pieces in those certain spots. So this was a very strategic move, looking at those things for sure.
I would have thought like would have been hilarious in the press release if 2028 they say Nick Hagelin joins the Bailey, and just like kind of like snuck that in there at the end, like 3-year contract plus a year
in the Bailey,
in the Bailey.
Yeah.
That would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you caught it in practice. Towards the end of practice, I think it was on Friday actually. They had like an ice bath challenge for Nick to go into in the cold in the snow. Which nobody's surprised by that. I'm really excited to hear, the travels of his coffee machine down to Florida because that seems like it's a big deal every year.
Oh yeah, down in Florida, I think that'll be like, okay, do we have like a new one? Is it the same one? Like, Is it gonna break again? Like, what's going on?
Well, I think Reels is his choice of social
as of right
media.
now.
Yeah, TikTok is back. I don't think Nick is on TikTok, but stay tuned to the Nick Hagelin show down in Florida because it's always super, super fun. On the flip side of things, not so fun, but maybe fun, Sam. We'll kind of transition if you want to call it this.
Yeah.
Lucho for Evander? What's going on with that one? So over this past week, there's just been a lot more buzz about the Lucho situation. Obviously training starts, Lucho's not there. The club expects Lucho to be there. Lucho's not there. Nobody here is like surprised. I think the club has to act surprised, and I really want to tally up, how much money he's lost per day, because every day he's not there, he's losing money in his contract. He makes plenty, so that's not a huge deal. But the reports all over, online is, okay, is it Brazil? Is it within the MLS now? So there's this new cash-in, trades that you can do within the league, and that kind of opens some doors. And we hear it first from Tom Bogert of, is it another team within the league? And everyone's like, hold on. We thought Lucho was leaving, but leaving like outside of the league, and when you hear within the league, you're just kind of like, hold on a second. Like, I don't want to hear that.
No, yeah, especially, obviously, I think hearing the interleague trading, you're more reluctant to hear that it is a West Coast squad, right? And FC Dallas that,
That's true.
is kind of in the mix for Lucho. I mean, the Timbers could also be in the mix for Lucho depending on, what happens with Evander. But I know Tom Bogert's been putting out a lot of stuff, and I think FC Dallas put in a bid for Evander around 12 mil, but his evaluation's around 14, 15 reportedly. So I mean, FC Cincinnati going to splurge again and go and get Evander. I know the trade will be an interesting thing. I think that's the only way that we can get Evander is through a trade with, giving them Lucho. I don't think there's any way we could afford to sign on the back
no,
end,
not
right?
necessarily. Not necessarily. So this whole situation is pretty hilarious. So within the MLS, and this interleague trading thing that's going on, it opens up a window where we can basically, pay for this player and not necessarily with the allocation money. So that's where these deals can happen. Before, if you want a designated player, you have to pay this high amount of GAM for them or whatever different roster mechanism, and teams really wouldn't even want to do that. Lucha's on like 4.5 million or close to that in his salary. So the team that has to take him on, they have to have that money available. So when you say Portland, like, I don't know if it's Portland there. This whole scenario is interesting. So it all goes around Austin, Orlando, Dallas, and Portland, and then FC Cincinnati. So Austin, Jerussi leaves to go down to River Plate. At first, it was Estudiante that was interested. So then this opens possibly a window for them to bring in another player. If you look at Dallas, Dallas had Alan Velasco, a young Argentinian, go to Boca, where Lucho wanted to go. So that kind of blocks Lucho's, but then that was like a $10 million transfer. Dallas has got the cash to spend. They lost Ferreira. They lost, I'm blanking on the other player as well. The young, or not the young guy.
U.S. men's national.
US
He also
men's
played
national
for
team.
DC.
Yeah, totally.
Paul Areola.
Paul Areola, yeah. So they have a ton of cash to throw around, and that's why Dallas. Everyone's thinking that's kind of random. That's why Dallas. So it's all kind of connected there. And Portland, between Dallas, that's the reason why. And then FC Cincinnati kind of in that tie as well. So it all kind of depends on how these pieces shift and change, but it's not great for our roster setup right now because we're in limbo. We need these to kind of fall into place to make other deals happen. If Lucho doesn't go, who do we have to replace? We have options, and like I hear the club has at least tested the waters for Evander, but you can't even make that happen unless you know what's happening with Lucho, Barreal, Luca Orashano. All those pieces need to fall into place. So, in a dreamland scenario of one day this week where the whole FC Cincinnati fan base was like, Evander, I had to do some deep dive. Evander's 26. He's a little bit younger than Lucho. Last year, career year, 15 goals, 19 assists in the MLS. MLS MVP finalist. He was third place in the running for that. So a huge player that could come in and fill this, massive hole that nobody's going to ultimately fill, because it's Lucho's. But yeah, I think that would be, if you were looking in the league, like as close to that
dream scenario,
fill as you would want, right? And I've seen online, like, dream bigger, go bigger, but like realistically in the winter window, like how else would you, like, and that Evander's a proven guy in the MLS. Like that is something that you just don't have that availability. Looking on the other side, Sam, I mean, what do you feel about his attitude? Like
Yeah,
all
I
of
know.
this is
Yeah,
stemmed about how he felt about Portland.
we had touched on that. I know, I had said to you like number 10s are going to number 10, right? I think every number 10's got somewhat of an
Sure.
attitude anywhere you go. So, um, hopefully with him being a little bit younger, and if he were to come in, right, he wouldn't be as established, like, this is my team type attitude, which Lucho has that, and he rightfully deserves to have that attitude. But I would hope that he'd have almost like a, I don't know, younger mindset when it comes into, something like this. But I could also see him, hearing the reports, right, like you said, of him kind of being a little bit of a locker room problem in Portland, having, somewhat of that cocky young guy attitude possibly. But he's 26, right? So he's got some veteran, at least presence
Sure.
to him.
If you're listening and you're like, this guy's young, he's that good, why doesn't he go to Europe? He's already been in Europe.
Yeah, already been.
He's been there.
Been there,
And
done that.
just like Cucho, like he could potentially go back as well, but you're not
But
going
he's
to
a
make
star
as
here.
much.
Yeah.
You're not going to, be the guy. And if it is money, like I heard that Portland offered him like close to 4 million for a contract too, and he turned that down. So it's like
He's down. If you look at his Instagram, he's down in Brazil playing small, like little five-a-side game.
which is at least reported that it's a visa situation, but like I don't know, man. Is him and
He looks
Lucho
like he's
hanging
having a
out
good time
together?
down there, though.
Him and Lucho are probably hanging out down
Playing
somewhere in
street
Brazil or
soccer.
Argentina. Yeah, who knows? But this whole situation will be interesting to follow. I just hope it gets resolved sooner than later. Both are unbelievable players, and they need the homes, to play. And
Yeah.
we need a 10, in this system. We have at least Luca Orishano back, so kind of segue to that. News comes out this past week that Cruz Azul was interested in Luca Orishano. If everyone was wondering, oh, he changed, his Instagram, to say he wasn't a player for FC Cincinnati. I noticed this around Christmas, actually, that he actually had removed that. And at the time, it was odd because his profile photo was him playing for FC Cincinnati. He changed it to him as an all-star. A lot of times when guys are upset, they will remove the club, they will remove this or that. He still has this kind of orange and blue stories thing there. I mean, it was all leveraged around, I believe, when he signed, on with this extension or whatever you want to call it, this option, to
Yeah.
buy. He thought he was going to get paid more. It is what it comes down to. He had an unbelievable year. He's a breakout star in the league. Like he felt like he deserved more, and he does deserve more. Honestly,
Yeah.
let's be honest, the dude should make more money than what 98,000 or something like that he was making last year. It's all about the chess pieces and how does this fall and where does it go and how much can we give him? And I think that's what it came down to when probably his agent is like, all right, if they're not going to do that, well, who else wants him? And then you see Cruz Azul from Liga MX come in and try to double what we had gotten him for, which was around a $6 million offer, which was interesting. You kind of see it out of the blue and you're like, man, if you lose Lucho, if you lose Orishano, like, what is this team going to do? Is Denke going to be on an island, Sam? Like, that was my initial thought.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Seeing the bid, them going, you know what? We'll double whatever, you guys paid for him. Obviously, that's super enticing if you're FC Cincinnati. Especially, I think the only way that they, have turned this down. The reports are, hey, Orishano's not leaving Cincinnati. Like that's not happening. But obviously, from a club perspective, it would look a lot more enticing had you not had drama with the Barreal situation or drama with Acosta, like all these other things happening, right, in the squad.
Sucked.
Exactly. Timing is a little off. So if, say, Lucho either, the decision, if he stayed, had already been done, I honestly could have seen them, hey, like we'll take 6 mil. Like that's great. Thanks. And then, that way we can make another move. We got somebody else in line. Like, but obviously he's staying. And like you had said, I think him staying is firm. It's official as, they signed the guy from LAFC for 9 mil, right? So they
This is
paid
nuts,
even more
man.
for him. So triple what we paid for Orishano.
LAFC's Poland player, Bogusz, their winger. They wanted a winger. Cruz Azul wanted a winger, and Bogusz comes in from Leeds for 1 million. He gets sold this year for 9 million down to Cruz Azul. I mean, they have money, right? And
Yeah.
did they lowball us for Luka? I mean, they probably saw the 3 million. They're like, we'll double it, and just say like, oh, we'll just make it double what you. But
Yeah.
I mean, we're all thinking he's way more than that, right? And if Bogusz is going for 9, like, okay, technically he had a better year, but Andy's, I believe he had been playing international ball too for Poland, so maybe that's why the number is a little bit inflated. But if he was their second option, I think they definitely saw the number at 3 mil and they said 6 might work. Let's see if that
Yeah.
does anything. So I'm glad the club came out. You don't see it a lot where everyone's kind of losing their minds that day, and thank God for Pat Brennan saying just, hey, look, the club is directly saying this player
Yeah,
is
he's
not
not
for
leaving.
sale. So that kind of relieved things. Everyone's like, but in the background, the agents and this and that. It's like the club is directly saying like he is not
Yeah.
leaving, and maybe like the agent wants that, but like the club is saying no.
Over
And
over my
ultimately,
dead over my dead body. Yeah.
I'm just happy. 2025, we need Luka Warshana. The unknowns are there. Kubo, Lucho, like we need some other attacking pieces, and I think he's going to have a breakout year again. I unfortunately think this is probably his last year in orange and blue, but that means he's going to make a big splash somewhere else, and we're going to make some solid money on him. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's enjoy him while he's here and cherish, honestly, what a player that he is. So past that, another player that was open to coming back to FC Cincinnati, Sam, there was a report that Alvaro Barreal had at least had an interest in coming back, but the team told him, hey, look, we don't have the space right now to make you a player again in this current roster mechanism where we're at. Like, man, I would have loved to have Alvaro, but it looks like a loan announcement is coming soon, as you had kind of found online. He went through his medical examinations with Santos down in Brazil this past Friday. Man, him and Neymar, Sam, they're going to be teammates.
I know. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I know we were making I think the guy's post down there that took the photo of him getting the medical, had made the joke. It looks like he's getting arrested. Like
It
he's got
did
his
look
hands
like
kind
it.
of like behind his back. You're
Yeah,
like,
go
what?
check out the
Wait,
photo.
what? Yeah,
It
what's
does look
going
like
on with Barreal? Nope, just getting his medical examination. All good. But yeah, I think I was reading in some of the comments too. A lot of the Santos fans are like, "Hey, when are you going to announce this guy? When are you going to announce Barreal?" Like they're even waiting for this announcement. So any day now, I would assume. So yeah, obviously that would have been great to have Barrio on the left wing back, and then Costa in the middle. You got Orishano up top. Like everybody, like that would have been amazing. That would have been amazing. Unfortunately, there's not enough money, space, gam tam in the world to make that happen right now. So we can only dream. I know the thing that a lot of people were a little upset about. I did put out that it does look like I was reading some of the articles from sources from Santos. The president of Santos said, this is going to be a loan option with no option to buy. So I know a couple
it.
people were online were like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, no. But we had talked about the fact that he was on his last year
Right.
of his deal with FC Cincinnati. So the option to buy, like, how does that make any sense if we don't own him?
Yeah, I mean, to me that okay, he had a down year from last year. We didn't get the offer that we wanted for him maybe to purchase. Man, for a loan, but without even getting anything for Barrial, like that would just be a
Yeah.
complete failure, for how valuable this player, is by all regards and wanted to even stay, possibly with the club. So is there something going on behind the scenes where we said, hey, there's an option that, maybe we'll pick you up at the end? Who knows? And is the president of Santos just kind of sweet talking, I'm waiting for the announcement. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I hope that there is something kind of set in stone there, because otherwise losing him, kind of on a free and letting him walk would just be a complete disaster. Um, Not quite, a full complete disaster for this next information I'm going to give you, but Emil Assad's not playing for FC Cincinnati next year. I was really bummed about that when
Yeah.
Pat Noonan was asked about it, and apparently there's no plans to sign him. Do you think this was a similar situation to Mourinho and Arias from last year? Player came
I
in, he overperformed. He's asking for a bigger contract. We just don't have the money. We don't have the space right now to do it. I mean, they even came out, Sam, and said, hey, look, we're trying to get him on a more club-friendly deal, a supplemental roster deal. That's probably going to be less money, and he probably felt like he deserved more, which by all means,
Yeah,
I feel like the player deserved more.
yeah, 100%. I think, like you had said, we've seen this, before, right? From Mourinho, from Arias, guys that, like you said, overperformed and we're just not able to pay, or, we see a cheaper option and bring in a guy like Yedlin. We're able to trade for him rather than having to, put
Right.
out a full contract. So, yeah, I would assume that's the situation. Obviously we're gonna miss him as a starting slash depth piece a little bit, because he was phenomenal when we were able to just plug him in and let him play. But I do think this has to do a lot with the Lucho situation too. I think his side, his agents probably would fight a little bit harder to get him on FC Cincinnati squad. And I'm sure FC Cincinnati would try harder had they known, if Lucho is going to stay or not, right? I think both sides would kind of be like, hey, all right, like let's really try and put some together here if Lucho's staying. If it looks like he's leaving and he's on the outs, then so is Assad.
Yeah, well, I agree with that for sure. And it again just comes down to the mechanism of the roster. Like, is it the Messi situation? Well, if Messi's there, like I'm gonna sign on for a little bit less to play with Messi.
Yeah,
Okay, if Lucho's there,
I'll
I can be a
play. Yeah.
supplemental roster spot. Maybe I make a little bit less, but the club will take care of me. I'm playing with my buddy.
Hmm.
Doesn't seem like that's happening.
Yeah.
So I think you're definitely right with that. Um, Newell Old Boys down in Argentina, which is Lionel Messi's boyhood club, is actually rumored to be interested in Yamil Assad. Came out last night. So would be interesting for him. Argentina makes sense. He's a little bit older, but again, would have loved him as a depth piece. Right now, we only have, I think, Brett Halsey potentially as a left back, a true left or winger, if we want to call it. Yeah, Luca Orshano can, but they've said they want him up forward. Yeah, Kubo can, but like you don't have a solid person in there right now, which is kind of a bummer. And as we go into preseason camp, we didn't have Lucho, we didn't have Luca at one point, we didn't have Kubo. So how does that affect the team? And I think Pat Noonan's comments are true. He said it's disappointing, certainly for us, for what we expected to get our starters and get everyone, started on the right foot. Um, I'm glad, that they're handling it internally and not airing more out. In some ways, Sam, we talked about this, I think, on text, is like, I kind of wish your GM would come out and tell us with all of three. If it's one, it's a different story, but three different players all in the same camp. Like, I hate for Pat Noonan to answer some of these contract situations. He's professional. He handled it very, very well. But like, I want to hear from Chris Albright at some point. Like, what's the update? What's going on here?
Yeah, I'm sure Pat's sitting there like, hey, like they're not mad at me, they're mad at Chris, right? So if Chris has the answer, because Pat's like, I have to deal with the people that are here, right? Like it's very
Right.
hard, whereas like Chris deals with the people that are there and aren't there, right? Like that's his job. So Pat's sitting there, like you said, taking the questions, going like, I mean, my expectations is that they're supposed to be here, right? So that's all I'm, supposed to say. It'd be great if they were here, but they're not. So, and I don't really know, the situation. Obviously, he probably does, but like you said, I'm happy that they're keeping that stuff internal. Like if it is a family situation or something like that. But yeah, something from Chris would have been great. Like him standing next to Pat to be able to, hey, okay, Pat, you go do training. All right, I'll take the rest of the questions anybody have. We got 5 minutes, right? Like I'll take a couple questions here or there. That would have been great to clear some air. Like you said, FC Cincinnati fans are very passionate, and want answers.
Wait, really? No way.
Yeah, they want answers, right? So everybody's going to be throwing up their own, theories, rumors, etc., or even just feelings about like, this is awful, and I believe kept seeing like St. Louis City fans being like, "Oh yeah, like what happened to the dumpster fire, over at FC Cincinnati, we need to look into, I guess the tragic fall of FC Cincinnati." It's like, what are you talking about? Like we're going to have a better record than you guys this year. Your kits are trash if anybody has seen those leaked kits. Awful, like just brutally awful. So it's interesting. It is. A lot came from this press conference with Pat.
Yeah, and I get the aspect of like keeping it internal, especially with the contract situations. Like if that's what it is, like I almost wish they would just say like we're it's ongoing, we're trying to figure
Yeah.
it out. But it was more of, we're just disappointed. And then like, you know, props to Laurel, but like Laurel tells us Kubo's in Cincinnati, but he's not at camp. Okay, well, why is he in the city, but he's not at camp? Like, what's going on here? Did he come back with a knock and he's getting evaluated? Like, what's going on? It's definitely a contract situation. Again, another player that overperformed. Unbelievable year. Kubo deserves the world. You know, love the guy. Um, why in 2 months did we not get this figured out? You know, maybe because of Lucho, because of Luca. Like they got a lot of things to handle, but it's like, come on, guys, you had this amount of time. Let's get it together here. And Kubo's the most out of character one. I'm hoping, you know, I'm going to see a photo of him, you know, come Monday or Tuesday, you know, getting onto the plane because I love that guy to death. And I think he's so invaluable for our team. It's just puzzling that all three were that way. You know, obviously we do get Orishano at the end of the week, but it's still a lost opportunity. You want the maximum amount of time because you have a game like less than a month away, you know, for a huge competition. Like we qualified for CONCACAF Champions Cup again, and it just feels like it's just well, we'll see how we do again. You know, we made it to the second round, but you play a Liga MX squad that's already started their season and possibly Tigres, like you're going to get smashed if that's the
Yeah.
case. And your guys have been training for like a couple weeks. Like I'm hopeful, but we shall see. The guys in the first week, though, you know, we do get like a 4-second clip of Denke scoring a goal, which was nice. Sam, over under goals for him 2025 25. What do you think? Over under
Under 25.
under 25 for
Yeah.
Denke?
Yeah. I think it'll
All
be
competitions.
okay. When you say all comps, I think that's a little bit better. I mean, all comps, sure. I'll go over for all comps. I think he'll have probably 16 to 20 MLS goals. I think this is his first year in the MLS, so you know, I don't know. You know, I'm trying to gauge it. Usually our strikers start off really hot, you know, like with Kevin Kelsey, like he started off super hot. Bupenza started off super hot. You know, I don't know. You know, I'm just excited to see him play the flick of that goal, right? You're just, oh my God, like he looks amazing, right? So
This guy's world class. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Noonan said it, you know, that, you know, look, every part of his game, it's incredible, like what he can do with the ball and his touch and everything. Um, I think, you know, obviously we want the best people around him, but even if he doesn't have the best, like I feel like he's gonna do well on his own. He's not a reliant striker and a poacher. You know, he
no,
can
yeah.
actually kind of create some as well. Um, I would love, you know, obviously Lucho there or a 10 that can provide, but I think if Orishano and him can create some chemistry, like that is a dangerous duo.
It was yeah, it was nice. You know, we saw what Laurel said too, and look out for, you know, her article with
Sure.
Denke as well. She's gonna,
Yeah.
you know, she interviewed him, but she had also said that he brought up the fact that there were absences in the squad. She
Right.
didn't have to. So that was interesting. But he also told her, like, you know, I made the right choice coming to FC Cincinnati despite, you know, people not showing up. I still think this is, you know, where I need to be and where I want to be.
Yeah, and I mean it's early on. Obviously his paycheck loves that right now, and you know his bank account is saying kind of that part of things. But I'm sure he's made some good connection with the guys too, especially the
Yeah.
ones that are here. Like I feel like he's a good locker room and presence. If you go and look on his Instagram, I'll kind of drop a bomb on you guys here. I told you this in the chat, Sam. Danke follows 18 people, the likes of Nick Haglin, Salentano, Orishano, Kubo, I believe, Evan Leroux. He does not follow Lucho on there. Does that say something to you? Maybe I'm over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I should insert the crickets right there. I mean, Instagram tells all, right? We know this. It's stories, posts, it tells all, right? Profiles. So yeah, I think it was interesting, but some other things going on at training camp, Ryan. Pat was talking a little bit about the training structure too. Obviously, we've got guys that are coming off injury, but from last year, right? So we're still in CONCACAF Champions Cup, and he was talking about how they're focusing a lot more on the video sessions this year than, you know, maybe regular practices on the field, maybe helping their exhaustion, helping their fitness when it comes to getting into the Champions Cup play.
Yeah, and is that video sessions on like the play of last year and how they want to play, or is that video on, how did the teams that you're about to play in CONCACAF Champions Cup line up? I don't know. It didn't clarify that, but it's kind of funny to hear about these teams using the video more. Like, especially I heard Greg Berhalter in Chicago is using pretty like drone heavy footage and stuff like that, which I'm still trying to like wrap my brain around. Like, okay, I get passing patterns and like the way you play and the way you build up, but like past that, like for drones, like what else are you gonna like use a drone for? I don't know. It's kind of odd.
The content team needs drones, Ryan.
True. I mean, we all love it. We love any content that they give us. I zoom in on every little, photo. Like we're looking at the kits, we're looking at Roman Salentano's kit and saying, oh, is there something there? The pattern, everything they give us, we're loving it. We're eating it up. I kind of ate up the fact that Miazga and Hagelin, Sam, they're three humming off to the side. They're kind of jogging around. I was hoping that at least one of them would be back with the starting group, but it seems like both of them are. That kind of gave some opportunity for some young players to step in the center back room. Who did you hear, I guess, did well?
Yeah, Brian Schaefer, obviously. I was able to witness him when I went to the MLS Next Pro game, was able to take photos on the field and stuff. But Brian Schaefer, Pat has been saying that he's kind of been a standout during this training camp so far because of those absences. He actually, had the most clearances per 90 in all of MLS Next Pro last season. So he definitely has shown potential. And I don't think he'll be – I was trying to, correlate it to maybe like an Ian Murphy type situation, but I was looking back at Ian Murphy's stats and he was kind of just thrown into the fire, right? Originally when we drafted him, he got playing time right away. I think he started maybe like 20 games his first season. So I don't think Brian will be like that this season, but I could see him, if we don't sign, another center back or pick up anybody as a depth piece, I could see Brian kind of coming into that role a bit, kind of playing a two on both teams, right? I know Pinto and Gulo and like some of those guys the past couple seasons had played, MLS Next Pro, and then they'd play, for the first team either day, and then they'd switch back and forth. I can kind of see a little bit more of that.
Yeah, and we talked about it even like a month ago was, hey, if we're not going to sign that many inbound people, like, are we going to start using more of the Next Pro or FCC2 players? And you see Stefan Chirilla out there playing with the main guys.
With his brother.
With his brother, absolutely. Mamba Dem as well. Like, there's several of them that they did well last year. Like, they deserve an opportunity. We're just kind of not accustomed to seeing that as much. And, like, is Pat going to give them the leeway in the minutes, honestly? Like, that's the next step is to get these guys real minutes, get them confidence. And maybe that's the route we go. It is trialist season. So, like, there is some possible people coming in, on that front. I think they got ahead of it this time, though. They didn't want everyone to kind of like do what we do for every video.
Well, we'll see what happens in Florida. We'll see what happens in Florida.
Like, and yeah, that's true. Who joins them? But
who joins the
guys that were trialists this past week, at least that were announced to them.
Go ahead. Get this last name.
No, I got it. It's Nico Hamalainen. Hamalainen. Yep, I found the pronunciation online. Nico's 27. He's a left back or left midfielder, I believe, from Finland. He played for the Finnish national team as well. He's had 2 stints in the MLS, both with the LA teams. He's kind of in for a rude awakening in the snow. But he did play under Kenny Arena at LAFC in 2019. So I think that's the connection. A lot of times there is a connection with some of these guys that they do bring in. They've had relations with the coaching staff or something, and he's a free agent right now. He's not high on his transfer market, but he's had good experience in the MLS. He's played abroad as well.
Lots of experience.
International experience too, and in a position that we need. At left back, I think he would be a decent option if he shows well, obviously, is the big thing. Can you bring him in on a supplemental roster spot, or does it have to be a senior spot is the question as well. And is he an international spot? I don't know if he has his visa or not, so that'd be another question.
Yeah, I think like you said, he fills that left back spot. Makes sense to try and, you know, literally trial, somebody out in that position because that's probably our most glaring position right now after filling up, that center mid depth right now. And so the other guy that was the trialist, Abdi Salim, Abdi, 23 years old, plays as more of a center back, it looks like, was loaned out from Orlando City to Detroit City FC. Recently came out of college, I want to say a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, maybe. So he's fresh out, would just be a young piece. Obviously, wouldn't be a U22 spot. So unfortunately, not one of those guys, but cool to see some young guys getting in there.
Yeah, I think Salim would be more of that two-way player. Like, we talk about the two-way contracts in the NBA, Sam. Like, this is what I kind of envisioned for this player. Maybe not going to see a ton of minutes for the first team, but
Yeah.
would be able to fill in kind of in-depth pieces. I think he did play a little bit with Orlando, but he was mainly with Detroit City. So could he come in and prove himself, in this scenario? We'll see from the 5-second clips that we get. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but these are two of hopefully many. Maybe there's more that are joining. That's kind of always the fun game of trying to figure out. So stay tuned on that front of things as the club actually is going down to Clearwater by the time you're listening today, on Monday. So I'll be traveling down to Florida myself. I'll look for them in the airport and get back to you guys and let you know. But Miles Robinson, he's actually with the U.S. men's national team right now. I had to kind of remember, like, I was looking at photos of training and I was like, where's Miles?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he's playing with the U.S. So Miles started and wore the captain's armband for the
Yeah.
U.S. Sam, is that the first time an FC Cincinnati player has worn captain's armband for the U.S.?
No, it is not. He actually wore the captain's armband last January training camp against a friendly against Slovenia.
That was your
I was
trivia question of the week. That
Yes, yeah, we were doing
everyone just
trivia. That
got.
would have been, yeah, that would have been so perfect. But I was looking it up because I saw he was captain. And I was like, I wonder if he ever has, or when the last time. And so I was looking at the press release they put out about, hey, he got called up, and it was like, oh yeah, he captained in January, and that was, I think, his only captain he's ever had for the senior, U.S. men's national team. So pretty cool that it was almost a year, but he got his second captaincy for this game against Venezuela. Get a 3-1 dub, pretty darn good. The red, white, and blue looks phenomenal. All MLS guys, right? So next they play on Wednesday against Costa Rica down in Orlando. So I don't know. We'll see how that one goes too.
Yeah, I think Clearwater is a little bit from Orlando. Maybe the guys go over and watch Miles. That'd be kind of cool
Yeah.
if they did a little travel over there to support their fellow player. But Miles played 90 minutes against Venezuela. He had a 7.4 rating on FOTMob. I felt like he did pretty solid. I watched most of the game. He captained well, honestly, like for a back line that wasn't like, I don't think a lot of them had too many caps, honestly. So I would love to see Miles do that, with FC Cincinnati as well. If he's doing it with your national team, like there's no reason that he can't be doing that, on our squad as well. He's got like deep connections with a lot of young players, and I really think that could help us in the future in trying to recruit some people, especially if Miles is in the plans. Like you have the U.S. men's national team, starter and guy that's consistently been with the first team. Obviously this is probably like the C team or whatever, but still he's been in every camp since Pochettino's been the manager. So that's huge consistency. We love to see it. And yeah, go watch the game on Wednesday. Venezuela, Sam, had Junior Moreno on the squad. He did not play at all. He is still not with a team right now. He's a free agent. I've been trying to see if this dude can come back, but I think too many bridges have been burned.
Well, yeah, and the signing of Anunga, I think, kind of cancels
Sure
that
did.
out as well because I
Yeah.
feel like that would have been a great spot for him. But yeah, I keep checking his Instagram story to see like, oh, like are we looking for anything? Nope, just him in a Venezuelan jersey. We're in practice. So shout out to him for getting called up, I guess, without being with a club team, right? He didn't really get that much playing time with the Dynamo either. So for him to be able to get that call up is still pretty impressive as well.
He builds rapport, I'm sure, and I don't know how deep Venezuela is, but another Venezuelan player, Kevin Kelsey, I believe. I think. Don't quote me on that. I think he's Venezuelan. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
He just signed with the Portland Timbers. So inside the MLS, Portland Timbers reached a verbal agreement to sign Kevin Kelsey from Shakhtar Donetsk. Fee was around $6 million to be rumored. Was it Fabrizio Romano? Isn't that the guy? Isn't that
Yeah.
He was the one that actually made the call. Yeah, the here we go guy. He actually tweets this out, and I see the $6 million thing, and I'm like, there's no way. I think we probably put in a bid for what, 3 or 4?
3, yeah.
I think it's got to be in that ballpark, and I mean, good for Portland. Like, this guy is 19, going to be 20. The future is bright. He's just not all the way there yet. He's a good talent. I just didn't think like he was, I don't know, willing to learn as much from Pat Noonan. Like, there's times where I think there was like some frustration there. We are still awaiting that formal announcement of him being signed, but he was at training. I saw some photos, like Kelsey's there already. It was really funny if you go and look at it online. Like, Shakhtar had this little video, welcome Kelsey back, and then like a week later he gets sold to Portland. Like, it was hilarious.
That's always an awkward situation, especially with a club that's in season right now too. For them to put out a welcome back for, somebody who played, in the MLS last year and his future, even announcing, him coming back, he still could have gone back to like Cincinnati, right? Very, very interesting there. I wonder if talks after, with FC Cincinnati, it was like, hey, we're not going to be able to meet your 6 mil. And then they were like, okay, fine. Like, let's cut ties. Let's not talk. And then they were like, okay, well, if nobody else is reaching out, we'll just announce it back. And then I'm sure probably like as soon as the post is sent, they're like, hey, Portland Timbers are on the phone. What should we do about that post? Leave it up for now. Right. I don't know. But that is pretty funny.
Yeah, I just thought it was hilarious. And honestly, Sam, like, we had to protect Kevin Kelsey during the expansion draft.
Yeah, do you think news will come out about that, right?
Well, we have his rights, technically, like his discovery rights and everything. That's why we kind of kept that part of things, my understanding. So, like, if Kelsey agrees to go to Portland, is there a gentleman's handshake? Like, if Evander leaves, like, you get first dibs?
Would you rather have that or, like, money?
Dibs on Evander, for sure. Over like $50K in GAM, like, come on. Like, I don't know if there's some backdoor like agreement.
Yeah.
We're waiting for the announcement to happen. Like, FC Cincinnati received 50, K in GAM because of this agreement or whatever. But like, if there's a chance of Evander, like, maybe they just waive it and be like, you guys can have him.
Ryan, there's some GAM sickos out there that would just take the $50,000 in GAM.
Welcome GAM. I love I have it saved in a draft. Welcome GAM.
Yeah, GAM being transferred in.
I'm waiting for some kid just to be named GAM so that they can welcome GAM in. And it's
the first like just into the MLS, like that would oh my gosh. Like, GAM and Tam. Yeah.
Like, they're brothers. They're twin. Maybe.
Okay, so if you're listening right now and you play FC 25, right? We want to tag us, create a player, either GAM or Tam, put them in the MLS.
Put GAM and Tam in the MLS.
Yeah.
Or take them out.
Or take them out. Yeah.
Take them out. Some people don't like GAM or Tam, so I love that. Yeah. Tag us, let us know, show us your phone. What does GAM or Tam look like? What kind of player is GAM or Tam?
I don't wanna I feel like we'd get in trouble.
I don't know. You can make it whoever you want it to be.
Yeah, I know. But they'd be like, oh, of course you would, like whatever we would make them.
Tam's more of an attacking player, in my opinion.
It feels more attacking to me.
General is like midfield.
Oh, well, yeah. Or would General be like a center back? Because
maybe like the General.
Yeah, is Shaquille O'Neal in the back?
Let us know what your thoughts are on that. But as I mentioned, preseason, that schedule for the games has actually come out for FC Cincinnati. We're going to be training down in Clearwater. Actually, this coming Friday, we're going to be playing CF Montreal. Then we're going to be playing Houston Dynamo January 30th, Philadelphia Union February 7th,
Every year,
Atlanta.
every year we
Oh
were
yeah,
scared that it wasn't going
we
to be
said
in
it,
there.
didn't we? Last episode we
Yeah,
said Philly's a lock. Like
yeah.
it's a lock.
It wasn't confirmed yet, but we knew. We
It's a
knew.
lock.
Everybody knew. Yeah.
Which Philadelphia is on a ban right now.
Yeah, I sent that to you. Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Very, what was it, 4 months? They said 4 months?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And then Atlanta's last one, February 12th. So 4 dubs incoming, possibility of maybe like 1 minute clips here and there that you'll see. Now, at some point, like MLS has Apple TV. Like, let's play these
We said
games
this
with
last
that.
year. Let's get
Stream
something going.
Let's stream. Or like Carter, like maybe we can like DM Carter and just be like,
Hey,
I'm gonna text Carter and just be like,
Instagram Live.
Carter, yeah, just do an IG live. Everyone would love that. What do you think?
Yeah, can somebody would have to blur out the trialists though, Ryan? That's the biggest thing. Who's gonna blur out the trialists?
Yeah, they need a good editor, I guess.
I mean, or maybe it's cold down in Florida. That'll never happen. But they wear like one of like the head coverings.
That could be a possibility. Yeah, or like put a penny on them or something like that, or like
A penny with a question mark on it. I like that.
make it real office. Yeah, but I mean, you put this on the outline here. It's kind of crazy that like our first game is February 19th though. Like we're
Coming
recording
up.
this and it's January 19th. Like
Coming up.
it's coming up quick. So we got to bring some of these guys in. Like my final thoughts is like let's close the deal. I look at it being the 19th.
Let's close the window.
Okay, but the window's open for
I
like
know,
April.
but
That
you
doesn't
said
work.
it, and I wanted to make it a
I
thing.
get where your head was,
Yeah.
but yeah, we just need some players, man. We really do. Like we need some guys to just show up. That's the first goal. But I went back and looked at the last couple seasons on when we brought some of these guys in. I mean, technically, Orishano wasn't announced until like 25th or something like that.
Yeah, it was a
February.
late announcement.
And I believe Buka was like maybe early February 8th or something like that as well. Like, so we have some time. And like, if there are trialists, like they sometimes do take their time to announce that part of things. But like, I think Sam did, correct me if I'm wrong, Pat Noonan said like there are some pieces that, were in the works as of his, conference on Friday. So I fully expect some things to come out. You guys go do your research and kind of see my early shouts. I just wanted to put it out there. We still need a solidified starting left wing back, and Raheem Edwards is out there. He's a free agent. He played for CF Montreal. He was with LA Galaxy. He's been a starter. He's been a proven guy in the MLS. Give him a call, give him a call and bring him in, see what he's got, make him a trialist.
You also
His salary was too high though last year.
Jalen Lindsay at all?
Jalen Lindsay, yeah, it's a good shout. I think
he's not a starter though.
He's a free agent still. And then I believe Matan from Columbus
Matan is still
out there too. Like, what are we doing, guy? Hopefully it's somebody soon, but where's your head at with that? What's the next signing? Is it a left wing back? Is it depth in center back? I think it's either left wing back or probably a U22 type initiative player. Maybe another striker or something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, this Nico guy, I could see us signing him because, like you said, there hasn't really been a lot of rumors around another left back like him, right?
He's not a starter though. Like
I know, but like all of our rumors have been, midfield, striker, center back. Like, so this is the first left back guy, and so I have a little bit of a feeling if he is a trialist, we might be trying him out. Maybe he comes to Florida with us and we end up just announcing it, when we're down there after we see him, play against some teams.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like you said, if it's a club friendly deal, like that's huge. And that's really what it comes down to is like this situation of we're in limbo.
Setting up a bigger move.
Well, yeah, we need the pieces to fall. And like, I'm hoping this week is the week. We need the Barreal one announced, and we need to kind of free up some roster space that way. Then we need, Kubo's got to be on the plane. We got to have that. That's for sure. We need it. Lucho is like the one where, all sources point to he's gone. He's out. So make it happen. you know, Free it up so that that next thing can happen. And it's probably a super complex thing, obviously, but you've had all off season, and maybe the offers weren't there, from what they wanted and the price tag and the location or whatever it was. And then this roster mechanism thing is opened up. The in-league trading thing kind of opens that. I feel bad for the teams that have already made these in-league
Yeah, that they're
trades
like,
and
oh man.
they've spent all their GAM and everything,
Yeah, but
like
wouldn't you if this is going to be a league-wide thing that they were like, "Oh, hey, it's in effect now." I feel like all the GMs and all the
yeah,
owners would have already
they
known
know.
ahead of time and been
They knew
able to
about it.
like vote on, "Hey, are we doing this? Are we not? Who's in favor?"
Yeah,
So,
I think you're right. They just made a cutoff date on after this state, for this state.
yeah.
Sorry about it. If you did it before, too bad. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. The league is changing and evolving. There's a lot of these rule changes that are coming out now. Um, we'll see where it goes and what that leads to. What are your thoughts on this, in league trading system? Do you think it's good to keep these players in league, or does that incentivize teams to just get comfortable and not bring from outside as much?
I I think I want to say it does more good than bad. Because I agree. I think we've been watching, we mentioned it, right? Like one of our players possibly getting poached by, Cruz Azul, right? So those things continuously happening. We had talked about, well, League MX is able to offer double because they can, right? Like they don't have the same salary, system that we do here in the MLS. So allowing this system, if players want to leave or if clubs want to get rid of players, they can do so within the MLS. It's similar to, like any other league in the United States. You're able to trade players for cash, right? You can do that a lot easier. So I hope this isn't something that hinders teams from going out and spending, from Europe, from, Latin America, like, Africa, like you said. I hope it doesn't. I don't think it will. But it'll definitely change the way players think about leaving the MLS, right? So if they're like, hey, I don't see a future at my current club, if you like the MLS and you want to help it grow, you can stay.
Yeah, especially for your high end dollar, maybe let's say DP guys that didn't quite fit, but
Yeah.
you're a team that's in need for X, Y, or Z position player, maybe you can get them on a more friendly deal and keep them in the MLS that way. I think that is beneficial. It's just I don't want teams to get complacent with that and just kind of like poach
Yeah.
off other teams that way. I think that, obviously the Leagues Cup thing, like as much as we hate on it, Champions Cup the same. We've been able to kind of scout talent a little bit more that way. And it seems like that Liga MX and MLS connection has only grown from that. The Brazilian connection has skyrocketed, over the
Yeah,
past
for us. Yeah.
couple years as well. So definitely in the Americas, like you're seeing a lot more intercontinental, type trading and transfers and whatnot. And I think that helps to grow the game because of how talented, really those players are down there. And getting kind of your world stars that come in, your Marco Royces, eventually your Antoine Griezmanns, your Messi, all that will bring those players, obviously, but you got to continue to grow the game that way too. I hope that we can continue down that path. And like, in one aspect, I'm thinking like, hey, the world's ending, if we are losing Lucho, like, how do we re-identify ourselves? But the club has been shown like, hey, we're gonna make it happen, and
Yeah.
like a lot of these guys have said, is like, let Chris cook. So ultimately, the message is let Chris cook. This week, hopefully, will be a big week for us. We'll get some news on some of the guys that are absent and finalize some things and really get this going. 2025 season, Sam. I'm still optimistic. I know a lot of people were already writing the season off and everything, but it's so early, man.
No, yeah, and like you said, all these deals in the past have been made relatively later, right? So just wait till we get to Florida. More news will come out as we figure out the squad, what it looks like. Just chill. obviously we want news just as badly as you guys do out there, but we can only do with what we have. So I hope Kubo shows up, like you said, gets on the plane. Hopefully Lucho shows up. Whether or not he's gonna stay, I want everybody to show up. I want to see Lucho one last time in an FC jersey or so. Like that'd mean a lot.
I think he's like cut his ties though.
I know.
I think his press conference is like, look, man, this is it. And this is what I meant when I said this is it. So I don't necessarily feel like that. I think it's more of a Barreal, like where he's just going to continue to hold out, honestly. I hate to say it, but it's probably the truth. And at that point, like the club's just got to say, look, we got to move on with who we have.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you see it over the next couple weeks. Who you fill that role is the big key. And we'll be here to tell you guys all about it, how these games go. We'll recap the CF Montreal game on the 24th, at least from what we're hearing on how that went. And hopefully we'll have plenty of news to talk about next time. But thanks again for listening, and we'll see you guys soon.